Draft your LCS team and earn money. Alpha Draft.
Yeah, and yeah, it worked out wonders there. Clearly playing a very strong Hecarim game. We are in a champ select for game 2. Energy Pacemaker has swapped over to the blue side. EDG over on the red. We've got Janab in there for EP and Lissandra. Deja Vu here as Kassadin also gets another ban.
I feel like what kind of cemented in my head is that at least what you can say about Clearlove is he knows how to play out his champions and build paths for the situation. He's played so much Sightstone jungling and kind of tailored his playstyle around aggressive invades for vision, not so much ganking, that we're kind of taken aback when he drops the Sightstone, farms up, does go for a few ganks, and the moment the one hits, he was just a tanky monster on the Hecarim.
Engineer Clearlove always building things correctly here. As Lee Sin is the next ban there for EDG. Another respect ban to Drizzle. And Azir going to get the last ban. I believe these bans are identical to the first game. I can't quite remember what the last one was, but I think it's a mage from memory.
Well, it didn't really strike out any champions that really needed to be adjusted from the ban pool. I guess you could always ban out Gnar and maybe the tankiness there, the innate tankiness. You pick up the Warmogs, you have the base stats coming out of the Mega Gnar transformation, so the health stack makes sense with all the extra armor and magic risks you get there. I can understand banning out the Gnar, and that is the final ban, but it shouldn't drastically change the game, I wouldn't say.
And it was Kalista. That was the ban that we missed from the first one. The ban's identical otherwise, but snapped up here is the first pick by EP.
Yeah, I guess that just tells you kind of the flavor of Kalista picks right now in the LPL. For it to be a first pick right here, when there's so many answers. I mean, Vi's still on the board, which is a very strong choice, at least from the jungle. You can counter that with the Morgana to some degree, but there are definitely comps that Kalista struggles against, specifically really strong frontline comps. And hilariously, that's just what EDG just played. They just played the Gnar Hecarim. It's probably not going to be the same thing again. I don't know how many of those picks need to happen for the Hecarim to be a success. But if you choose a really tanky frontliner that Kalista can't, spread her rend onto other targets behind them, if you space control well, Kalista will struggle in a fight.
Well, tanky frontline they do have at least the beginnings of here. Thresh and Maokai, the first 2 picks there for EDG, so very much giving Koro another big tanky champion.
Absolutely targeted engage on a Kalista. She's so good at staying alive when she gets over that first initiation, but if the death sentence comes in, the Twisted Advance comes in, it's going to be a dead Kalista.
Yeah, looks like EP might be mixing things up here as well. I like Kane on Kalista as well. He's one of the few Draven players, I guess, until Crystal started playing in this split for Snake, and this sort of champion suits him, big, short-range hyper carry with a lot of mobility on play. But Energy Pacemaker going to go with the Jarvan and the Hecarim now as well. And that is 2 pretty flexible picks for this team.
Absolutely. Will it be the Hecarim top or the Jarvan top? That's kind of the questions we have to ask right here. I'm going to guess Hecarim top just because that's kind of where the meta's moving right now. Across scenes, we're starting to see Hecarim tops creeping in, but it definitely hasn't really hit the top level competitive play yet. I've had a lot of top players in Oceania where we are now say, all right, this is the next champion that's going to build it up there. And maybe the LPL will be the first competitive region to really debut the power of the Hecarim top, but we're talking too much. We'll wait to see how the draft pans out.
I mean, clearly played it in the jungle there in last game. It's been picked here quite early by AP as well, so it'll be interesting to see if that's a trend that we start getting more of. But these picks are really curious for EDG. Corki back for def, not a surprise there. But Nidalee has been picked up now by Edward Gaming.
And Clearlove, I wouldn't have pegged him for a Nidalee jungle, but you have to assume that's where that's going. Nidalee jungle in 5.2. She's seen some adjustments in 5.3, which has just hit live that's kind of hit her jungling. But her jungling power on this patch, her clear is really fast, and if you have the setup CC and Twisted Advance and Death Sentence, already some excellent setup CC. The damage ganks coming out of Nidalee, just surprising. You just don't expect the 1,000, 1,200 range spear, and then all the bursts coming out of that Nidalee and Cougar form.
Yeah, we've talked about Clearlove and how good he is at setting up ganks. If he can work with his lanes here, and he does have 2 CCs now with Marka and Thresh in either of the lanes he'd look to gank there on top or bot. So interesting here, but EP are going to go with some tried and true classics here instead. LeBlanc in the mid lane we have to think for Raphael and support Annie.
Yeah, we'll wait and see what the last pick is. It could be a mid laner, because it might not be that jungle Nidalee. We don't really know. We won't want to hard commit. It doesn't feel like Clearlove's bag necessarily, but it is an option for Edward Gaming.
Could have been an interesting blocker pick as well, given that 2 jungle-esque champions were picked already by EP and Hecarim and Jarvan, but instead it is going to be Pawn playing the Nidalee there, and Clearlove going on to Rengar now.
Yeah, we spoke too soon. It's going to be the Nidalee mid. We haven't seen a lot of Nidalee mid on this patch. It's interesting. I mean, back in the day, Nidalee was kind of a blocker pick to LeBlanc, just because if you could eat through that harass early, you just outscaled Nidalee. You just outscaled LeBlanc in terms of range in a team fight. You could hit those max range spears, do so much damage, and LeBlanc had to get into that almost melee range with the Mimic Distortion to do big damage. But now Nidalee's a bit similar in terms of the fact that although she doesn't have the CC, if she hits that spear, gets that targeted jump, she also does huge burst damage. They're much more similar styles of champion right here. Traditionally, you always gave the early laning phase to LeBlanc, so maybe that will mean Raphael's on the front foot, but we know better than to second-guess Pawn.
I was going to say, if we're going to trust anyone with a mid-early pick here on this particular patch, it is going to be Pawn, who had a very solid game on Lulu there in Game 1 as well. Although Def, definitely the star of that comp, may look to be, again, who is on his best champion, arguably, or at least his best performing champion in the LPL. Corki's pretty scary in his hands.
And we didn't comment on this because we weren't sure if they were going to be changed, but we got some interesting summoner spells coming out of Amazing J. Amazing J, definitely the member on this EP side that has the most hype, and it's the Teleport Ignite top lane Hecarim coming out here. I'll say one thing to you, Pacemaker, just one guess. Probably going to see Home Guards coming out of this Hecarim pretty quickly.
That's probably not the worst assumption. So Pawn actually has Cleanse as well, curiously, so going to counter off the bit of the Ignite that Raphael does have. And we expect some interesting things here. That's what we've got here in this game. You know what? Let's find out some more. We'll jump right in. And welcome onto the Rift, everyone. EP versus EDG here for their second game. Edward Gaming up a game after taking a very solid Game 1 here. But Energy Pacemaker going to look to even the score and claim their point. And we have some pretty curious champions out in the Rift today, Papa Smithy.
Especially with how EDG's playing, you could assume that it would be EDG that were mixing up the meta. But look, the top lane Hecarim, it's something new. A lot of people have been theorizing it has a lot of power right here. And against Maokai, not going to be someone who's going to be able to bully him out of lane too. He's probably going to be a true tank battle of yesteryear in the top lane, but the Teleport Ignite is some interesting summoner spells from Amazing J.
It's nice, and Amazing J is certainly someone to play maybe a little cheesy. He loves to sort of do different, or maybe what some people would call gimmicky things, but for me, Amazing J likes to put the amazing in his name, and he's done so many times here. He was once known as the Teleport for First Blood, the Telefragger of the LPL, and he's got a very interesting champion and some interesting choices on top of it.
And we'll return to that point that we mentioned in the pregame. This is 5.2. We're jumping to very near to the live patch right here. A lot has changed in terms of champion balance, so we shouldn't be too surprised to see some new things coming out. It's kind of the exciting thing about this week 5 is that we've already seen the Hecarim jungle in the previous game. Now we're going to see Hecarim top. I imagine the champion picks across the board are going to change as the series goes on. But EDG are ready for something in the top lane.
Yeah, looks like Pawn is just dancing in the mid, but there's trouble in Paradise here and towards the top. Shu getting very low there against Mako and Deft here, just pushing in aggressively. Annie has to be careful. The Ren does trade back in for a bit of early damage, but EDG won that trade and get the 2v2.
But credit to Shu right there. You saw that he turned on. He didn't keep running away because the stun was finally up, and he knew that he was in a position to counter engage. They couldn't have all the Ren stacks keep adding on to either Mako or Deft right there. So they're competitive in this lane, but it's getting aggressive.
I mean, Mako could be in trouble. That Kane going to move in for the round. The heal does get used, and that's going to keep him alive. But heal traded back in there for Kane as well. Kane gets low, but Shu wants to go in for the kill. Deft has to be so careful on this Corki, and both lane is now very low.
It's becoming a trend, Pastry Town. There's so much fighting in a Deft lane, even before the minions break. So that we saw this on when Deft was playing Twitch in a similar lane matchup. So happy to trade those early. That was just so confident in his orb walking that he'll be able to get the last laugh in terms of autos. But Mako's had to use both summoners here defensively.
And another nice thing to note here with Mako using those summoners is that Deft is someone who holds onto his summoners very well in those trades, or healed quite late and managed to make sure that Thresh would stay alive, but kind of maybe tried to bait EP in for a few more autos. And Deft, a very calculated, very clever player, does love to get aggressive from time to time, and today's the time.
And kind of the intricate thing that you can say about that trade is because he still has Flash available, he could conceivably pick up the machine gun at level 2, already have an escape, doesn't have to go for the Valkyrie because he's lost his escape, and do surprising damage in a trade. So he has so many more options just because he was steadier on that Flash.
A bit of an earlier CS lead here as well for Deft as Raphael against Pawn here. Pawn going to move back in. Good little trade there as well. And again, this is a very Assassin-esque matchup now in the mid lane.
Yeah, I mean, look, Nidalee will try and out-heal the damage coming through, but it'll be difficult. It's going to be a harass matchup for sure from LeBlanc. And there's not a lot of jungle pressure coming out from Clear Love until level 6, unless the communication is really on point with the counter-ganking Dandy style.
Yeah, Pawn actually going to roam down towards the bottom now as well. Heals himself up and maybe looking to pressure Amazing J in towards the bottom side of the map. The ward will spot him out, standing right on top of one, so probably unsuccessful here, but Pawn getting aggressive very early on his Nidalee.
I would have expected a very clear call from Koro about that presence of that ward. He must have been really tricked into thinking there wasn't a ward there. You wouldn't have expected such an aggressive gank from a damage mid laner to come through there, but clearly they didn't have the the spotting on that, and it's time wasted for Pawn.
Cliff and Drizzle having a standoff, but a good ball there does land in. Does EQ out of the way. Def could be in trouble, but Valkyrie's out of the way. Lantern was there as well, so Clearlove and Drizzle meet, but no one dying in towards the top side.
You do have this 1v1 in the bottom, and you have to say that it was EP that were looking for a 1v1, because they've initiated the lane swap right here. The counter lane swap in the top lane, so they're happy with the 1v1 here. Maokai realistically can't pressure Hecarim out of this lane. He's happy to have 1 point in that Spirit of Dread W and just continue trading with the Q.
Yeah, and Corey, he does have decent sustain on his passive as well, but going to struggle here against the Hecarim on this patch as Raphael back in towards the mid and getting a bit further ahead of Pawn and trying to pressure out the middle.
I mean, the happy situation for Amazing J is that it is this Rengar. We're not expecting strong ganking pressure. He's not against a Jarvan, which would cause him to have to really pick up that flash defensively. Maybe that's the kind of the intelligent thing about the dual pick of both Hecarim and Jarvan, is at least you're free to go for these more aggressive summoner spells if the one thing that can really slow you down, the Jarvan, is already locked up on your side.
Yeah, clearly, if you're on the Rengar, another different champion for him. He was playing so much Nunu, it felt like, in the last latest stages of the LPL. Playing a lot of control style jungle, a bit more reactive. Rek'Sai as well, another big champion for him, but he's playing a lot more aggressive today. Hecarim in the first game, and now Rengar in this one.
He didn't even draw a Nunu ban right here. Nunu would have been a very viable choice against the Jarvan, just to have a bit more vision control, but the consistent storyline for EDG has been the fact that they're able to mix it up, and it's so hard to scout this team because they can play different on any given game, let alone any given series. And they're continuing that with just a different flavor of jungling coming out of Clearlove.
Yeah, and both junglers also picking up the Trailblazer quite early as well. We've seen a lot of jungle item trading happening on this patch as well. As it's a lot cheaper to swap those out and change what you want to do, but pretty much everyone's going for an early Trailblazer, and that might favor Clearlove more passive style.
And the transition into Chilling Smite, it doesn't cost any gold right there. Having the 2 charges, one available for Smite, so Kakao can get that damage in, and then of course
been buffed.
Pick up that. It's a massive buff for Kakao. We have to mention this is again another thing that wasn't available on 4.21, is that we're going to see less of these crazy Baron pickups with just no summoners up.
Clearlove going to move in now. Kane can be in trouble. Clearlove trying to line up the ball. A great hook though from Mako, and Deft moves in for first blood.
Deft's Corki is always so strong. He's so steadfast on that champion against just the recurve bow picked up by Kane right here. Has a significant trading advantage, even though he only has just the constituent parts of the phage. They pick up first blood, the first blood right there. Deft looking good on Corki, just like always.
Yeah, Pawn coming down here as well, wanting to set something up on Amazing J again here, but can't quite make it happen. Would combo nicely with Koro with the W into Spear for a lot of burst damage, but instead Amazing J is going to pressure back now as well. Knocks him back there, queuing away, and so much sustain in this bottom lane as the tank battle gets them both to about 2/3 health.
There isn't ever a lot of wasted movement from Pawn or EDG as a team, so you have to know that they're a bit wary about Amazing J getting a free farm lane on this Hecarim. They know just how strong a Hecarim can be in the late game. It's going to be the damage build. You can see probably going to be a first pickup phage coming out from Amazing J. The Trinity Force burst when you activate that E and get in the initiation in is massive on that champion. If you can transition into tank items, you're really going well. As we see EP, again, very, very quick on the Dragon.
Really good lane swap down here. So Kalista back here to help secure the Dragon along with the jungler here. And that's a very quick, easy Dragon for EP. Again, about 7 minutes 30. Claim it here, and Amazing J could be going back down in onto Koro, who does walk out of the lane.
They're very quick to opt out of the 2v2 and the Corki vs Kalista matchup. And honestly, with the recurve bow right there, so much extra Dragon secure with Ren scaling with the attack speed. But we're seeing a contest here at the blue buff.
Yeah, Death's sort of freezing in towards there, but EP have moved in aggressively towards EDG's blue now as well. Raphael looking to get aggressive, it can't quite get the kill. Pawn just missing his pounce over the wall there as well. And Eggwood Gaming forced to sort of defend their blue buff. Will back away now, so will the rest of EP. But again, another very strong Dragon by Energy Pacemaker.
And I believe they did pick up the blue buff still. There was a fresh blue buff coming on to Drizzle right there, and both summoners blown by Pawn. So it's one thing to pick up that Dragon. It's not the global gold of old, but it does give you that stats boost. But to also deny the blue buff from Pawn right here, she's not going to have that sustain in lane. She's not going to be able to use the heal off cooldown right here, and she will struggle in lane against that assassin matchup LeBlanc.
Kane maybe has to be careful here. Koro with the level advantages in towards the bottom. Mako and Rengar are rotating down, and Koro's going to go, and Kalista can't get away right now. No support to call another. Clearlove jumps in, Mako with the hook, and Koro gets an easy kill.
Yeah, you could see it coming a mile away with the benefit of the mini-map right there, but it's so well coordinated from EDG. I don't even think Mako needed to use his flash right there. Obviously, would have been communicated that Kane had his flash. Just want to secure the kill, and they pick it up very, very convincingly.
Yeah, looks like Amazing J will clear out the ward. Deft was hard freezing the top side as well. So very much ahead of this Kalista as well, about 25 CS or so, as Corki is going to go back to pick up his items. So Amazing J might actually struggle 1v1 in this lane.
I mean, it's still going to be so much sustain. That's the big thing coming out, but the teleport's coming in bottom.
Clearlove's coming through there. Korra's already tanking up the tower. Amazing J going to go on the swap the tower aggro now as well, but Korra, little too low, flashes to his death, unfortunately. But the Lantern now does come here. The trade kill moving in. Amazing J actually getting hooked back now as Clearlove could throw out a bowler if he wants, does snare him up, but no follow-up damage and a 1-for-1 trade.
Would have been massive if he had the Onslaught of Shadows available right there. The Fear Tether would have caused so many turret hits to go down to both members. Didn't have it available, so it's only a trade kill. And Def can go up top. He's already got 2 parts of his Trinity Force right here and just farm happily once again.
Yep, he's back here with a very strong spike there in the top. And Amazing J will move in to join him. Pawn going to pounce away from Raphael as well. Blue buff LeBlanc stealing away that blue as well. Going to make Pawn's life a little tricky. And you can see he's actually 15 CS behind again here in the mid lane.
Worth knowing that, again, with this jump to 5.21, we never saw the 5.1 patch in LPL competitive play. This is the first round of Merlinomicon Nurse that have hit the LPL right here. So much easier and much more advantageous for Pawn to opt into this Athene's Unholy Grail. Gives her a bit of magic resist against this LeBlanc matchup that's so hard for Nidalee and doesn't really pay for it. There's no earlier spike coming out from the Merlinomicon just because it's that much harder to pick up earlier. Of course, it does have the advantage here, but over the long season, Athene's Unholy Grail definitely going to see more play than we've seen so far.
But a nice aggressive choice at least. And we were seeing Athene's sort of getting transitioned over to a little bit in last week as well. So clearly the Chinese players on top, of course, of the current patch, even though they were playing on 4.21 up until today. Kane now down back towards the bottom as well. Last sitting very reasonably under tower here using Rem, but falling behind in CS against this Corki just has to be very safe here and really get to that first key item.
And one of the things we always talk about is the Maokai builds, whether it's the Righteous Glory or the Rod of Ages. A Snowball Rod of Ages, an 11-minute Rod of Ages, maybe even slightly earlier coming out of Maokai right here. And you were correct and on the money with Deft up the top lane right here. Amazing J has already been very denied in this top lane. He's had to move out of lane, getting some jungle farm here, just because Deft, you put him in this solo lane, he's just last hitting, and there's nothing this Hecarim can do to push the lane because he'll just eat too much harass from the Corki.
Yeah, Def playing that very nice here in EDG. Very comfortable in this spot as they're going to move in towards that next dragon. EP, of course, do have the first one, so EDG will have to contest for their first if they want to, and Pawn is struggling a little bit here in the middle, and Raphael really putting the screws in here.
But he's not getting any significant advantage. He's got the turret down to lower than half health. That's a big win for him. But no solo kills, and in fact, the roam presence from Pawn has actually been significantly larger than the roam presence from LeBlanc. So unless they can get the wards down and get some picks, the only thing Pawn's really getting is a rough laning phase.
Clearlove again coming in towards the top. As I mentioned, Valentine's Day on the way here. Clearlove and Deft have definitely been reunited here. Would be surprised to see a Kalista pick. He might bong with Clearlove.
The love is strong right there. Maybe in the future when you can vary up the members that you bond with. You kind of always price into bond with your bottom laner.
Yeah, Pawn coming in now as well. Good Lance moving in, but Drizzle moves over the top. Pawn will go down there to Raphael, but Drizzle going to eat so much damage from Clearlove's Rengar. And another trade here, but Raphael going to dive back in. Maker going to look for another hook, but has to be careful. Has gotten snared up there as well. Shoes also rotated in. A good stun comes through, but pretty tanky on the thresh. Not enough though to get out from the Annie, and there's the 2-for-1.
Yeah, worth noting that it was a 1-for-1 in an outnumbered situation, and when they equaled it up, a 2-for-1 right there. So EP, the early game has been very favorable to them in both matchups. They're behind here, but not significantly, especially taking into account just how well EDG rotated early to set up this Corki.
Yeah, and this next Dragon's going to be on the way in 45 seconds as well. EP would love to claim their second, and EDG, of course, looking for their first here. I believe the Trinity Force might be close to ready by the time that next Dragon comes through, and that'd be a big move here for Corki, but EDG, especially with the Nidalee, have to be a bit careful how they approach that contest.
We should check in on the CS values between Maokai and Hecarim. Hecarim was ahead earlier, is now behind 30 because I believe he's picked up between 5 and 10 CS in the last 5 minutes. That's how strong the vision, the lane control from Deft has been. It's only just now that Amazing J can really go up and clear these minions.
Yeah, Deft knows he has to come back for that next Dragon. I think EDG maybe looking to set up vision there as well as Mako's in towards that side of the pit. Pawn, now with the blue buff, finally able to poke at distance with his spear, so that will add some value to the next Dragon fight as well. But Energy Pacemaker have some decent timings of their own. Hecarim aside, they're looking strongly to contest. Korra in the bottom lane, getting rid of with spears, does go down actually to a nice gank from EP.
Yeah, and look, it's still Deft in the top lane right here. Hasn't shot with the Trinity Force. They've kind of given up their hopes of contesting this Dragon, you'd have to think right now. With a death and Corki, no way to get to this Dragon. the second dragon should come in for EP.
And you know, the last time, in game 1, sorry, we saw this as well from EDG where they gave up those 2 dragons, but had a very clear plan of what they wanted to do with their Jinx. Is the same plan in effect here for EDG?
I mean, the Ruby Crystal's there from Clear Love, so it could be the unfancied Sightstone Rengar coming out. It's not the same committal right here. It's just been really some smart play from EP in taking advantage of timings and lane control right here. But EDG haven't overcommitted to Clear Love going for a damage right here. Until he pulls out the Yomus, that's when you know that that's really setting up for the assassin-based Rengar.
We'll have to see what he does want to do with his build. Just has some tanky stats here for now. Pawn could be in trouble. Actually, Distortion a little wide there. I think Raphael was expecting him to pounce backwards defensively, but Pawn, little smart play there, but still struggling against this LeBlanc. Actually, 20 CS down or so.
20 CS down. Again, it's not a great matchup for Nidalee, but she's getting through, and she hasn't lost her turret, and she hasn't really been out-roamed by Pawn. The solo kill's one thing, but basically lost the minimum in an unfavorable matchup, and then Nidalee in the late game, and they might be nerfed spears, but they still stick for a lot of damage.
Yep, Corridor there, looking strong there on his marker with Royal plus Merc Treads. Blue buff picked up there as well by Raphael, and Def does have his Trinity Force finished up now, so didn't have it for the contest on Dragon, but gonna make Callista's life very tricky with just the Hurricane Vamp Scepter.
Yeah, consistent story has been just how well EDG group around Power Space. We're waiting to see how Deft rotates, but in the top lane, Maokai might be in trouble.
Yeah, good 3-man pressure here by EP. Not a whole lot of damage coming out between these 3, especially with Hecarim not having that much fun. Amazing Jack actually getting caught out under the turret a little bit there and takes a lot of damage, and Koro doing a bit of a go-going impression here, defending very nicely 1v3.
The very tanky man has the completed Merc Treads right here. It'd have to be a perfect turret if they wanted to go for it, and they just seem more interested in turret damage.
Corki takes the bottom turret as well. Amazing Day still tanking their Koro, making them pay for it every single time. Might even go in 1v3 for a potential kill. It does ward down. Ulti there by Amazing Day will go wide, and Koro now going to get aggressed on Good Sun there for any damage coming through, but he gets the first kill onto Drizzle, flashes out from under his turret and gets away with it.
I don't know what the Chinese is for you shall not pass, but he was really saying it right there. There's the pick in the bottom lane as well. The tanky beast Maokai is too strong in the top, and the rotations, we wondered what they were going to do with Deft right here, and inner turret is the answer.
And it looks like an overcommitment by AP in the top lane there as well. Moving into gank Koro, fine. Try and gank the Maokai, but no damage here with Amazing J being hamstrung by all the early lane swaps here. And EDG don't just get the kill for Koro, but the kill down the bottom and a second tower.
I don't know what it is about Hecarim's wanting to dive Maokai's, but it's been really much the flavor of the day in the first 2 games right here. Let's look at this Hecarim build. It's going to be the Trinity Force Hecarim, but the timings compared to the Rod of Ages, this is a 6-minute Rod of Ages already, compared to just the parts of a Trinity Force. Still a long way to go to finish that item. Never going to get tanky if the mid-games come soon, because Amazing J's just spending a lot of money on these aggressive stats.
And Koro even going aggressively there as well on the top lane. Not afraid to try and bully Amazing J around a little bit now as well. And that's with the Ignite Summoner choice there in the top side as well for Amazing J. Even had the aggressive option and just could never do it because Def kind of forced him back into a swap that was unfavorable. And EDG now again through a mid game looking very strong. In fact, Hornet cleared down towards the bottom side looking for that Hecarim. Won't find him, but we'll get some pressure down instead.
One of the key questions you asked in Champs was just to review this Kalista pick, and we can say that she struggles against frontline tanks. Koro's getting massive.
He is indeed here, as Kane will throw out a Sentinel there as well, trying to defend off the next set of turrets. So EDG have felled the outer ring of turrets here, so plenty of space, and it's been funny for a team that's really been assertive in their early games and just carried through to the mid games. They always have good plans, but EDG today, at least in this game and the last one, really playing for a lot of strong mid games here. They're playing almost old school OMG style by filling the outer turrets and then pushing vision forward.
Absolutely. They've been playing more OMG style than OMG were last week, and just now, Clearlove's going to back. He finally is going to spend his gold. He had about 1,800 gold. I wasn't sure if he was going to go and turn that Ruby Crystal into a Sightstone, but it's the combat stats again. It's going to be Teamfight Clearlove right here. Going to be a slightly more tanky Rengar, but he's just going to try and be a frontliner with Maokai and hope that Nidalee and Corki can put out the damage in a fight.
Yeah, and Pawn doesn't have that much AP right now, but those spears are hurting from long distance. They're chunked too into Shu and Raphael, and they get chunked to about 2/3 health each. That's just Sorkshu's the Fiends here. Pawn, again, had a bit of a weak lane and a bad matchup, but he's powering up now as well.
And this is where the matchup that traditionally won the advantage of Nidalee, and not that much has really changed about Nidalee. Okay, the spears don't do quite the same damage. In previous patches, that might have been a dead Annie. And it is a dead Annie here.
Very nice spear there from Pawn. Snipes him out of the Callisto ulti. Drizzle in trouble as well. Def now going to turn around to Amazing Day. Pawn going to dive in on the top of Kane there as well. Maokai gets that next kill. That's 4-0 already for EDG. Raphael running out from under his turret. Clear with a good bowler. Just goes a little wide there. And EDG going to claim the turret. Mako almost finds the hook and does force a flash. 4-0 EDG.
So the Nidalee damage was actually doing good damage right there. Took down the Annie, but Deft is grouping with Trinity Force and a BF Sword. You thought the mid game was strong with the Sorcerer's Shoes. It's much the same with the big BF Sword pickup right here. And although it was a nice attempt at flank engage from Amazing J, they just don't have the tanky stats on their front line to deal with the burst coming out of this Corki.
Yeah, a very strong fight. They're using the burst of the Corki and the Nidalee, tying everyone up with Thresh, Maokai, and Rengar. Pretty creative comp here from EDG, but making it work again.
So the replay starts right here. I mean, the snipe comes out from Nidalee, but look at the onslaught of Shadow. It's smart, but actually it only hits Mako right there. And Deft is free hitting from the backline. Amazing J still doesn't have a Trinity Force, let alone any tanky stats, so Deft can free hit. They pick up the turret from there. They stay grouped right here. EDG grouping with Corki is perhaps one of the most overused sentences I've had all season, because you know that's exactly what they're going to do. They never miss out on the Corki power spike, and Deft plays it amazingly well in lane.
Yeah, Deft onto another good game for himself. 175 CS or so versus the 142 currently there of Kane. Big edge there, about 30 CS ahead in the lane. Looking for a B tier, looks like, to really get the siege going down. And 2-0-2 on that Corki, looking strong. And I love, by the way, that Pawn has had 2 games in a row where he fell a little bit behind and they had a big team fight and he reaped a bunch of gold. Now I need to see Large Rod to complement his Athenes.
And the point I was trying to make about Nidalee is, okay, you don't have the oppressive 1,200 range spears. You don't one-hit people with spears. This Annie accepted. She was on low health, let's be real. But the big thing about Nidalee is they didn't really remove the damage. They just forced you to go in melee range to get the same damage that the 1,200 range spear was doing in the past. So pricing you to go into melee range, okay, it makes her more susceptible, but the damage is still there. AP Nidalee is still a very viable build. There's just a lot of counterplay to that melee pouncing.
Yeah, but right now, EDG, when they pressure on the map especially, looking very strong with the Nidalee pick. Clearly, actually, looks like he's popped his ulti in towards the top side, wanting to run in and try and get a pick here. Pawn close behind him as well. They're going to find Drizzle here. Clearly does have the bowler, does just miss with a good flash from Drizzle, but gets a second for the slow. Going to go back in here, building that Fury back up, back to 4 now, as he might looking to throw another bowler. Korra around the side as well. Pawn also riding in, going to look for some speeds here. Another pressure onto Drizzle. Tibbet goes in there. Pawn's going to get eaten alive though by LeBlanc and Hecarim, and Korra still taking it up. Raphael gets picked up. Flay back there as well. Cliff's going to dive in for some more damage. Looks like the support will pop back in for one knockup, but Mako taking a little too much there. Goes down to Kane. They overcommitted for the carry. They couldn't get it, but 2 kills there traded as Deft's come in now as well.
Pawn was so aggressive with his positioning there, despite the fact that Deft was nowhere near the fight. They were not as group, and they did not communicate that they were just a bit more scattered than they needed to pull off that engage right there. Korra could go in the front. He could tank up damage from Kalista. We didn't see the Ren spreading on everyone because the tankiness of the front line is working, but they have to watch their positioning right there, as Deft just couldn't impact that fight.
Yeah, and Korra gonna have a bit of a better answer now for Kalista. Actually, already had the Frozen Heart in that fight as well, so that also added in. But EP kind of fight back well, defending their turret in towards the top side of the map as well, and they're holding on. The gold lead not nearly as massive as it was last game, about 5k up for Edward.
And with Frozen Heart, it's doing triple duty right here. Hecarim is heavily attack speed based. For his damage as well. And Korra, he's been caught, but he's very tanky.
He's really tanky there. Def going to fire some rockets over the wall. Kane going to fill him with spears now as well, but there's damage here over the wall. Drizzle taking very low. The hook does land, and that's a kill for Pawn.
You can tell how overtuned this Maokai is right here. So tanky. They thought they caught him out. They even used the Cataclysm. That's how much they wanted to pick up that kill on the tanky Maokai, but he kind of stood there, shrugged it off like only a tree can, and the exit kill comes out for EDG.
5, 2, and 3 there for Korra as well on the Maokai. Rotovator's Frozen Heart, Enchanted Mercreds with the Home Guard, and a Spectre's Cowl on top of it. A very tanky tree indeed here, and EDG might look towards Baron, but instead going to move in towards the top side and try and take out some more turrets.
And this might be the reason we haven't seen that Hecarim come into competitive play, is that just doesn't do as much in a fight with just a Trinity Force compared to even Aurelia. Aurelia has so much CC and peel and natural damage coming out from the true damage on her W that she's still relevant with one item, but Hecarim with one item just feels squishy. He goes in there and has an excellent engaging ultimate, but the tanky stats just aren't there, especially if you disengage from the W.
Yeah, looks like EDG trying to close the trapper as well. Amazing Day could get caught up. Drizzle gets soloed there by Pawns Nidalee in towards the bottom half of the jungle, and Clearlove going to move around the side here as well. Amazing Day does get tagged. That's a great skill shot moving in. Onslaught of Shadows going to force him out here, but they'll dive in. Korra going to jump in onto Amazing Day with the tree. Raphael just dodging the spear, and Hecarim missed it as well. So just the one kill for Nidalee, but EDG will take it.
It's the very tanky frontline. This gives Kane nothing to work with on this Kalista. Cannot spread the damage to priority targets, so these attack speed based Kalista builds just don't work against true tanks. That's the one thing we've kind of taken away from this first few weeks of Kalista play, is against a double AP, no frontline, especially behind Jarvan, for example. In the jungle, Kalista looks wonderful, but against these true tanks, and Clearlove tailoring his build towards being a frontline. Going to work on the Randuin second right here, just to stand in the front line against Koro. Just no way to spread that damage for Kayn.
And like you mentioned, if EDG have those strong tanks here, Amazing J just isn't that tanky, and it's sort of the Bruiser's dilemma. You want to be able to do damage and still tank, and unfortunately for Hecarim, he only does the one thing right now.
I mean, Hecarim does so much with Trinity Force, specifically around burst when you come in with your E, that I understand the inkling to go for that item. But the issue is, if the enemy team's smart and disengaged from the W, it's all the spell vamp that you get from all the damage happening in a fight that gives Hecarim implied tankiness. If you just go away from it, just like you would go away from, say, the Death Defied from Karthus, he doesn't get the tankiness, and once that cooldown's down, he's just a squishy frontliner who's built for damage, and he's just dying in these fights.
And just a very admirable early game by EDG as well. Def really played to deny Amazing J for as long as he could, and that Trinity Force took so long to come along. I think it's about 17 minutes that Amazing J got that item, and EP now with 4 turrets being felled by EDG with only 2 of their own. I mean, Amazing J will get one down in the bottom as well, but Pawn might solo him out with his death cap.
And the top lane right here, Maokai split pushes on so tanky. Pawn is considering his options against this Hecarim, but teleport is available for Amazing J.
Yeah, I mean, Pawn can't cancel it, but he might look to go and does truck the spear in there. Decent damage, but Pawn's going to dive back in and try and assassinate him. Pounce resets coming through as well. Does miss the next spear, and that might give Amazing J what he needs to get away.
But there's still aggressive posturing around mid. You see Clearlove is considering his options.
Yeah, so going to rotate in. EP, 4-man strong. Going to move in towards the middle as well. Dragon back up in a minute. EDG maybe just dancing to buy enough time here. Amazing J will complete his recall back home, though. And EDG going to try and get some more vision down. A little bit lacking on the bottom side there, but good vision in towards the top.
Warding hasn't been the name of the game right here, and Koro's tanking a lot of damage in the front, but still staying.
Amazing J actually completes the teleport. Home Guard is out now as well, diving in on the Hecarim, but this gets turned around there by the Flame from Mako and eats all of the damage from Pawn and Def. Def going to claim that next kill, Valkyrie very aggressively in towards Kayn, who's caught all alone now as well. But Kayn going to hop back there, clear the good flash baller. Kayn is in trouble and goes down to Pawn.
I can understand the initiation flavor from Amazing J, but if you don't take flash and you don't communicate well, once you've committed, you're in there, you're in the fight. The rest of his team was completely split away from him, couldn't even flash to safely after that fast trigger point on the engage, and EG, they might take Baron here.
Yeah, when we talk about Rengar Maokai as well as being enabling picks, Pawn is playing very well with the follow-up spears here. Every single pick in the jungle, he's there doing damage along with Death.
Okay, but it looks like EP are aware of this Baron. They're not going to commit to it. They know that Nidalee's going to corral them out, and it should be the Baron pick up here for EDG.
Yeah, good zoning there by Pawn, and EDG pick up the first Baron of this game now as well. That gold lead has grown massively again, about 8,500 gold. Now EP might get their next dragon here, but it looks like EDG might even be going to contest that.
EP tried to be decisive right there, but EDG knew exactly what their game plan was right there. The scrying orb comes through from Corki. They have to back away, but you can see on the mini-map here, they are aggressively positioned for a pick.
Yeah, Koro actually teleported in behind on a pink ward and wrapped around the other side of the river just to make sure the energy pacemaker, if they were, they couldn't get out of the dragon and it would be uncontestable. So another dragon coming through, evened up now by EDG 2 apiece. And EP again, that's 2 dragons they've gotten in the game. And EDG answer again on Clearlove in trouble. They caught out completely around near the pit. He's looking to go down. He just kind of sits and knows he's dead. I think his ulti's popping. Amazing J's going to try and clean up that kill. Hops over to the Scuttle Crab. Pops the W there as well. EP might have left him too soon. Drizzle though will clean up the kill. But there's the trade actually as Pawn was able to solo out Kalista.
EP has to do so much resource. The snipe comes through by Pawn. He's turning it on with these spears.
Oh, and almost max range on Annie there as well. Pawn going to keep chasing in. Shu has to dodge it. Does do so successfully here. Drizzle leaving with a bit of a laugh there as well. Just trying to bait him. He gets speared though for his insolence, and EDG still pressuring forward.
These 5.2 spears are no laughing matter here, Drizzle. As Pawn does a nice bit of damage to his Korean compatriot right there. I actually saw on the minimap, EDG were pinging out. They knew where that flank was coming from, so, you know, shame on Clearlove for dying right there, but they pick up 2 exit kills in the trade anyway. And Deft, you know, it's like nothing happened. He's back to split pushing.
Well, Deft's usually pretty comfortable in these situations. He's gotten ahead in so many games, and this one is no exception. 4-0-4 on the Corki with the BT and the Trinity Force already done, and a last whisper almost completed with the Sork shoes there as well. So EDG pretty rich here in gold, 10,000 gold ahead now of VP, pushing down turrets with the Baron. And again, same situation, 10,000 gold up, 6 turrets done. Just a matter of trying to close it out. Pawn, though, could be in trouble. Gets out of the ulti by Amazing J.
Onslaught of Shadows completely comes up for nothing right there. The front lines are just so different here. With that Trinity Force pickup, okay, he now has a Randuin, but he's just never been able to outscale the damage from EDG, and he's trying to play catch-up in tankiness, which you never want from your front line. It's nice that he has a burst of damage, but without the flash to really make use of it, he's kind of useless in these fights here, Hecarim.
And it's also not going to help him against the mixed damage Corki, or especially the high AP damage Nidalee.
Yeah, a Warmogs here on top of these items will be a completely different game.
We'll have to see those EDG going to move in with their Baron buff. Deft getting very aggressive. Corey going to dive in onto Kane. They're going to lock down Kalista. Jump right on top of him. And now the inhib is going to go down as well. So Rengar got the first kill. True. Locked up there as well. Koro follows in again there with the twisted advance. Raphael trying to go in. Koro just tanking both of the Nexus turrets though. And EDG going to get their first inhib.
Yeah, the picks are coming in strong. They're going to try and end the game, but will EP put up any sort of fight? Doesn't seem so.
I mean, death time is pretty short, but EDG just do so much damage right now. Pawn could be in trouble here. Raphael going to go in and try and all in him. Doesn't quite get it. Great three-man play there from Mako as well. And now EDG going to go 4-0 in the base of Energy Pacemaker. One Nexus turret left. Amazing J maybe can defend here, but it's a slim shot here, and EDG looking to go 2-0 once again.
Yeah, they don't quite have the minion wave to support them, so it's going to be slow right here, but they still want to end the game.
Good hook on Amazing J. He's going to get blown up now as well. Not enough tank stats on his Hecarim. Lives for a long while with the W going, but Deft even Valkyrie in aggressively to try and take out Kane. The Nexus here under threat. EDG going to close out this game. Maybe going to find a few more kills for the dude. Deft goes in so deep for another there just to pad his stats, but EDG going to go in there. Koro dives in. I think he had a Sonya's there on his Malka. Yes, he did. And 4 straight matches in a row. Edward Gaming are 8-0 now.
Yeah, the padding of the stats was real from that Corki, but 8-0-6. Deft's Corki is a wonder to behold. We praise his Jinx, we praise his other champions, but no one plays the mid-game quite like Deft, and no one plays the mid-game quite like Edward Gaming.
And they had a very strong mid-game and picked for their mid-game there as well. Pawn playing very different champions. Clearly playing very different champions, but the execution, the consistency we expect from this team, still there.
Absolutely. We're going to see a replay right here just to see a flavor of some of the team fightings we had in this game. So again, we're quite early right here. The Nidalee Spears are already starting to come in. Of course, we saw how Annie started to feel about these, but we'll roll the tape right here. The first anti-spear comes in, chunks her out. Higher damage than you expect, but the second one snipes it through the Kalista ultimate. Amazing J really commits, but again, Death in the backline is doing so much damage to this Hecarim. He's already used his W, dies instantly because he has no tanks. It doesn't even have a Trinity Force to show for the mid-game, and that's kind of the big deal right here, is that Edward Gaming play around their spikes. They've got a Trinity Force BF Sword Corki. I mean, Amazing J gets the flank engage, he's looking good, but without the Trinity Force, let alone maybe a Giant Spell at this point to really show for themselves, he's just not tanking in the front line. He just wasn't the front line they needed. So I like the build, I like Trinity Force Hecarim, but that wasn't the game for it.
No, and EDG again just playing such a strong game that everyone getting ahead. Beautifully played by Deft especially. That man is still very good at League of Legends.
Absolutely. I mean, of all the Korean imports, we'll put the names like Imp right there, but Deft, his Samsung buddy, doing wonderfully well.
Well, the dream continues for Edward Gaming, still on top of the standings until undefeated in matches for 4 straight ones in a row. But don't get anywhere, guys. More LPL action is coming up right after this.